Tyler Douthat coming at you. This is an oral autobiography. I was on the road for a little while today, so I thought I'd have a little chance. I never really get to do longer videos and sound clips, so this is to do both. If anybody's watching this, my name is Tyler Douthat. I'm all over the social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, Medium. Keep going down the list. I'm on all of it. I am a lifelong entrepreneur, businessman. Let's see, born in 1983. I am 34 years old, turned 34 recently. Old by some, young by others. I feel as young as I ever have, because as I've been getting older, I've only, I think, begun to realize my potential, and is beginning more and more productive and successful just as time goes by, as I've been able to come into my own kind of thing. Raised in the Midwest, in the Belleville, Illinois area. Two wonderful parents, Bill and Mary. I've got an older sister, about 6 years older than me. Her name is Stephanie. And even as a kid, I realized I had entrepreneurial traits. I always looked at systems and stores and businesses and looked for holes in the system. I didn't really realize at the time, but these holes were my mind beginning to analyze opportunities, which is one of the core traits of a business person, is seeing opportunities when they exist. I didn't realize that at the time. And I've also been naturally frugal, and my entire life, it's not that I don't like to spend money, but I don't like to waste money. And that has been very good for me, both in a personal finance kind of thing, because I don't spend a lot of money on stupid things, and also from a business standpoint, to minimize costs whenever possible, because all that does is lead to more money, whether it's for yourself or to reinvest in a business along the way. If I try to think back to my first entrepreneurial venture, I was a kid. I don't know how old I was. I want to say maybe 6 or 7 or 8. I started a gift wrapping business. And this was in my house, so I only had my parents and my sister to have as possible customers. Not the biggest client base, I suppose, but I charged $1 per gift. I made a little box that I could accept the money for, and I had a couple purchases from my dad, so I probably made a few dollars on there. That was my first entrepreneurial venture. The second that I can remember was around 7th grade, where I started a grass cutting business. I did pretty well, but just went door to door, did some flyers. Back, it was a lot easier and safer for a kid to go door to door back then. We're talking, this was the mid 90s at this point. And I did pretty well. I had 6 or 7 clients, and I was making in the grass cutting season, probably, $100 a week, which when you're 12 years old, it feels like a whole lot. And that was doing really well, and that I realized, though, like a lot of people, that's a seasonal business. So if you want to have year-round income, you got to find other things to do. And let's see, after that, in high school, I started to spread my wings a little more in entrepreneurial things. Towards around my sophomore year is when Napster was big. And I don't know if anybody watching this or listening to this remembers the world of Napster, but it was a free-for-all in music, and people were getting sued, and it was one of the first times with a mass-scale distribution of music people didn't really have to pay for. And I thought, well, this is a pretty good gig. I can download music for free, keep my costs low, and I will take requests and burn people custom CDs. $10 a pop. Get a CD for $1, sell it for $10, great markup. Of course, it was illegal at the time. It probably still is. So there was that. I had one customer, and then my dad realized what I was doing because I had order forms in the printer, and he put a quick stop to that and said, Tyler, you're not going to do this. This is illegal. You're not going to be burning pirated copyright CDs and selling them, because personal use was one thing, he would probably let that slide, but selling them is commercializing that, which would put you in a whole other boat. I didn't like it at the time because I saw that as an easy way for money, which it would have been. Once again, seeing an opportunity, maybe not seeing the full big picture I could have. Of course, as a minor, they might have just given me a slap on the wrist if I ever got caught in the first place. But put a stop to it. Good lesson on doing right and wrong and avoiding illegal things when possible. A year later, I started, and I did have jobs in high school. I worked at a grocery store for a couple of years, and then I worked at a theater chain, and I was never really the ideal employee when I was a teenager because I always kind of had self-interest, and I did stuff to get paid, and I worked hard, but I always thought it was unfairly slanted towards owners, and I realize now they take a lot of risk, and it's a risk-reward relationship. You take a lot of risk, you have a lot of reward, or you have a lot of failure. Employees get paid the same either way. But I got fired from my job at Schnucks, and I worked at the theater chain for a while, and then I quit that because I didn't like the having to work Friday and Saturday nights all the time till like 2 in the morning. I wasn't afraid of hard work, but I didn't like that. My parents didn't either. At 17 years old, work until 2 in the morning. I wouldn't let my kids do that today. I also, around that same time when I quit the movie theater, I pursued one of my own ventures again, business entrepreneurial. I started a car detailing business called Custom Car Detailing. No, I didn't have an LLC or any trademarks or anything, but that's what I made up a name for it. Flyers door to door. I was doing really good with that. And that was pretty good. I was making pretty good money washing and waxing car sports. I had low overhead. I had a bar vacuum that I used for my parents, and didn't have a whole lot of stuff except to go somewhere and buy like car washing supplies. So it worked out pretty well. And I was doing that for a while, but that was really, really hard labor intensive, less brain power, a lot of hard labor intensive, and again, fairly seasonal. People do that a lot more when it's warmer out. So I did well for that for a long time, and then moved on to other things, and that kind of rounded out my high school entrepreneurial venture. Then went to college, went to SIUE at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. That's in Edwardsville, Illinois. Lived there in the dorms the first 2 years, and in the apartments the second 2 years. I graduated. I had a computer science degree that always came natural to me. Computer programming always did, and I realized kind of later on that I don't think it's all that different from problem-solving skills. It's really all it is learning how to take a problem and break it down into individual steps, an algorithm, individual steps to be able to break down a complex solution into simple steps, which to me is an awful lot like running a business. You have a big picture, and you break that big solution down into smaller steps, and then have your solution go. So to me, it was never all that different. I knew people with a business major. I thought it was a joke at the time. I even back when people made like Facebook groups, I thought, you're a business major. It was something like I think of the business major as a joke, and if it was that easy just to have a business and make money that way, businesses wouldn't fail. And I had a lot of people give me comments and stuff. You'll be working for me someday. Yeah, I bet. Joke's on you. But I did have another entrepreneurial venture in college. I started trying to sell logos because I got into e-commerce stuff a little bit. My first website when I was still in high school. This was the late 90s. YourMusicSite.com. Didn't pan out, but I was always interested in that. I think I got that bug from my dad, but we'll circle back to that in a second. So in college, I started a small logo design thing, $49 for a logo design. I got one customer. I did to acquire customers. I did probably spam. I didn't know any better back then. It was easy to do, easier than it is now because it wasn't so overflowing with spam like it is nowadays, and the legal stuff wasn't there or enforced as much. And then one day I got my internet connection in my dorm room turned off, and I didn't know what happened, so I called the tech support people, and they said there was something on the system to go see somebody. So, and then some old dude, and I say old dude now, he's probably like 40 at the time. Of course, I was like 20, so he was really old to me. But he called me in his office and said I was abusing university resources and I had to sign something that I was sorry. And I moved on, slap on the wrist. I doubt that guy understood anything about what was actually happening. But that was my main entrepreneurial venture to the end of college. I'm going to come back to that. But I think I got the entrepreneurial bug from my dad. He was never, that's a nice, lovely way to put this, he was probably never the ideal employee many places because
hazard reported.
He was always searching for something for himself versus working for the man in some other way. and he had lots of ventures along the way. And then his finally took off towards the late 90s. Again, a big kind of e-commerce boom time, late 90s, early 2000s. Started a online e-commerce site for security cameras and recorders and things like that, hidden cameras, which worked really well. And so we started that full time, I want to say, I don't know, early 2000s, and kind of built that. And it was the plan when I graduated college in 2005 that I would work there, which I did. And that was the plan. So cycling back to end of college, I had my first real deep venture into that was because I was good at computer programming. That was what I really excelled in college. Never took a single business class. Anybody following me? Ironic, right? Not a single business class, but yet a successful business person. It was my senior project, and I bought up my partners for $500 for two people, $1,000 at the time. And when you are 22 years old, for me, that was a mountain of money to think, man, I'm spending $1,000 to secure the rights of my 22-year-old handwritten, what was typed out, but hand-done contract for me to release all rights. And they took it. Of course, that idea never panned out. But that was my first of many challenging ventures along the way, which I consider learning experiences. And I had several internet ideas along the way, different businesses. I always kind of like the scale of it and be able to scale and create, and based with my computer programming skills, I was able to create membership systems and build a little bit on the membership thing and think it's going to scale so easily. And I had various successes with that off and on. At the same time, like I said, after I graduated college, 2005, started working with my dad. I did that for about 11 years until about 2016, and didn't grow every year. He made good money, I made good money, but it didn't grow every year. But that was during the explosion of Amazon and stuff like that. And let's just be realistic, mom and pop places get squeezed out by places like Amazon because it's a marketplace and it was gaining market share every day. And it's still in business, and it still had revenue, recurring customers, and we innovated in different ways, products you couldn't get anywhere, and we did sell some on Amazon as well. If you can't beat them, join them, kind of thing. How to move along. And that I did for about 11 years, and the most important lesson I learned there, the most important lesson by far, was in 2012, one of the Google algorithm changes cut our traffic in like half, 50% decrease overnight. And we never really recovered to our previous levels from that. And still there was a lot of markup, a lot of customers, repeat customers, and it was still enough for everyone to get paid along the way, which is fantastic. But that was an important lesson I learned, because that was when I learned that you cannot take any customer for granted, and you can't take the good times for granted. Because before that, customers just rolled in. I was like printing money, which is fantastic, but we took it for granted and didn't see the big picture. And had I known what I know now and had learned that lesson prior to that, it was kind of my responsibility, because it was just he and I running the place, and I would never have taken advantage of existing customers and new customers the way it is. I would have built up other channels so much more had I not realized that good times don't last forever. Extremely valuable lesson. So I did that for about 12 years, and my dad, being an entrepreneur himself and having many failed ventures or minimal ventures until the big one took off, very similar path to my own, because I had lots of ideas which made some money along the way, but never the kind of money that allows you to quit your job. But then I kept experimenting, kept pushing, kept trying things, and lots of stuff would go and then fizzle, or go and then just go a little bit. And then I got into the earbud business, and that just exploded. And then I realized that I could not do both at one time, and I had a strong suspicion, the feeling in my gut, which you got to follow sometimes, that if I was able to dedicate my time full time to that, my income would just explode, and it did. And that was March 2016, about 13 months ago, is when I officially became self-employed and left my dad's company and started my own. And I made probably twice last year what I made at the old job, and I'm going to make twice this year again what I made last year. So the income is good. I work 3 times as hard as I ever did. Not that I didn't work hard for my dad, but when every dollar is your own and you need to have a strong desire to keep those customers and feed your children, feed your wife, pay a mortgage, etc. It's never hard to work hard. But because times have been so ripe with the earbud business, probably I am what I consider the king of earbuds. I think I sell more earbuds than anyone else, any like individual type company. I'm not Apple. I don't ever will be, and I don't ever want to be a company like Apple. But to include earbuds with iPhones, you might sell 1 million a week. No. But for anybody in the same categories as me, say a small business, I guarantee I sell more than anybody else. And I consider myself the king of earbuds, so it's a little egotistical, I suppose. But what do you do? So I got into that, and that was going really good, and it is still going strong. 2017 is looking to be twice what 2016 was. E-commerce directly to schools, and that's just exploding. And I keep getting lots of repeat customers and taking over, and word of mouth is spreading, and orders just roll in, and it's fantastic. And the money is so good, which is fantastic. But because of the lesson I learned at the old job, that good times don't last forever, I take a lot of the profits and reinvest them into further growth as well as different areas of business, because you don't know what's going to happen. So next Friday, and come back to that future stuff. The other thing too, you have to realize is you don't. I guess I could take a bunch of money out of the business and profits and buy fancy things, do this and that, buy a nice watch, maybe buy a nice car, but I would much rather reinvest that and keep that as leverage and possibility income for other business ventures to help grow long term, because I realize I need to play not long term but super long term, and only super long term. So I reinvest in lots of different things. I push in the personal brand, things like this, because I think that my journey is kind of interesting to some people, and I'm getting followers here and there and comments and etc. And it's only how it goes up with about 25,000 followers over the different channels, which I know is nothing compared to many people, but compared to a lot it really is. And it goes up every day, and I take time out of my day when I could be doing other things to create content or document content, put that on lots of different channels, pictures, videos, to document my journey as an entrepreneur. So that's one area that I'm reinvesting. I'm also starting to flip houses. We close on the first of hopefully many flip houses next Friday. I'm primarily the financier for that, which I'm just fine with because my time is so busy. And one of my wife's brothers is very handy, and he's been doing all the work, so they pretty much keep the profits. We get a return on our investment, kind of just that as an investment, to get money back out first, to have some better use of that business income versus sitting in some checking account. Also getting different, I'm starting to acquire different intellectual property, things with royalties and revenue streams, because those are kind of independent of stock market. You can also offload legally lots of different things into like retirement accounts and all that, to help with taxes and things like that. So stuff is going really good, and that's kind of been my entrepreneurial venture right now. I did a video a couple days ago, or yesterday, I'm not sure, they all blend together after a while, about realizing I was competitive. And when I realized I was competitive, I was 30 years old. 4 years ago, I was 30 years old when I realized I was competitive. I never thought I was. I just realized certain things bothered me, and certain things I really wanted, certain things bothered me. And then one of my wife's brothers said, "You're really competitive, Tyler." And I go, "What?" I didn't believe it. And then I asked other people in my kind of inner circle, "Yeah, you're really competitive. You're really competitive." Who knew? So once I realized that, I was able to really harness that desire to outperform, to outcompete, outthink, outwork, succeed. Trademark. That has been very, very useful and productive for me, because when I realized that, I was able to harness that competitive streak in myself towards the greater good. I was able to harness that to wanting to make more money than everybody around me, to wanting to have a better long-term future, wanting to have a better portfolio, wanting to have a better net worth. All of these things I was able to achieve by harnessing my competitive nature, and that was a big, huge step in me. So probably if I had to look back in the last few years, what's really allowed me to get where I am today is probably three things. One, my incredibly supportive wife, who has always been, we've been married, 2000, coming up on 7 years this May, and Karen, I talk about her sometimes, recent foot surgery, recovering nicely. Thanks for the well wishes out there. And so, one, having a super supportive wife. Two, realizing I was very competitive and being able to harness that into things. And three, actually taking the leap to go full time, because when I was able to devote all my mental abilities, all my time into my own ventures instead of having to do it evenings, weekends, lunch breaks, mornings, instead of having to do it around the 9-to-5 gig, which I was for 10 years, and making extra money, yes, but when I was able to dedicate all my time to it, all my brain power, then my income just exploded. And success is a weird thing. Kind of once you get a taste of it, once you start to realize what you are capable of, amazing opportunities just start to open themselves up to you all around you. You start to realize this you could do, this you could do. It's kind of, I don't know how historically confident men can attract more women, and maybe it's like that. As I have gained confidence in business, I feel like my ability to accomplish things is opening up all around me, and I think that is why now I feel younger than I ever have. I turned 34, and that was easier for me than turning 25, because I think, man, I'm only getting started. I'm a little grayer, a little older than I was before, but as far as how old I feel like I could be 20 right now, because yes, I've made some money, yes, I've made some journey success into the business world, but I feel like, man, I'm just getting started, and I feel doors opening all around me. It's an incredible feeling, and I encourage everyone to try to find what you are good at or what you're passionate about and meet in the middle and consider some sort of business venture. If that's not what you want to do, that is awesome. If you're the kind that wants to have that stable 2-week paycheck, 1-month paycheck, and you're happy with that, good for you, you've already done it. But if you are someone who finds yourself not wanting to be in that position and wanting to be in control of your own destiny, which is an incredibly amazing feeling, a super incredible high, then consider striking out, because you can always do stuff in evenings and weekends and lunches and mornings to get a taste of if that's something you can accomplish or not. And then when you start to get some traction, then you make that consideration to jump full time. Don't quit your job and start full time on something you have no idea is going to work. That's stupid. You have to at least know if you have some possibility of success with it before you take that leap. But think about it. You never know what you're capable of until you try, and then once you get a taste of success, you will be amazed at what it is you are capable of, because the only thing that limiting you might just be yourself. So this is my oral autobiography to take advantage of some dead time on the road here. Anybody that follows, I get comments. I respond to every single comment myself personally, every single DM, every tweet. I will reply personally myself, Tyler Douthit, back at you. So please keep any comments coming any way I can provide value. Please follow Tyler Douthit and contact me in any way you want on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Medium, LinkedIn, SoundCloud. I'm getting good traction on the audio as well. I'm a big fan of that, because you can do it while you're doing other things, because when you're working hard, you don't have time to stop and watch a 20-minute video, but you can listen to a 25-minute audio clip in the background while you're working. That's why I like that so much. So anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for following. Please consider following me on whatever channel makes the most sense to you, whether it's audio or video or Facebook or Twitter, whatever makes sense to you. If you like anything I have to say, I do a daily vlog, TD Grind. I also do a series of car talk, short-minute clips with my thoughts and opinions on different topics. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.